This will be a two-step process. I will turn the ball, cut it off, and then in a second operation later on I will rechuck them and center drill them and drill them to depth. So let's get started here. The first thing I need to do is to turn the forming tool into this position. That's already been done. And I'm going to bring this stop up. This is a stop in the chuck. And I will loosen the work in the chuck and just bring it up to that point. That way it's always coming into the same length, and back that out of the way. Now I'm ready to bring the forming tool just up to the end a little bit so I'm facing it as I'm turning the ball. And I'm going to do this without lubrication, see how that works, but normally every turret lathe is run under a flood of oil or coolant. So here we go. I'm just going to plunge cut it until I have a full ball. That determines the depth. But a stop could be set for that also. Alright, there's the full depth. Now, even though this is a little dangerous, I'm not going to turn the machine off, but I loosen the turret, revolve it 90 degrees, and I'm coming up against my stop now, which may not be in the viewfinder here. Coming up all the way until it touches the stop. Coming in, I'm going to cut it off. I've started the cut, so now I'm going to take a file and I'm going to break the corner so that doesn't have to be later on. Right there and there. I even polish that a little bit because that aluminum is a bit tarnished. And then complete the cutoff operation. And that one is done. And here we go again. Make sure you have plenty of clearance so your tool doesn't hit anything. I'm not going to do the filing operation here for sake of expediency, so I can run a couple of these. Now I like to turn it off to advance it. Against the stop. Now I'll do a couple more with a close-up. Here we go. Now, if you're doing this all day long, you set up a rhythm and you really get fast at it. But it's not something you would want to do all day long, believe me. I call this the second operation, and they even have what they call second operation lathes. Matter of fact, that little speed lathe of mine is called a second operation lathe. But all I'm going to do now is to center drill and then drill it 1/8 inch to a certain depth, and that's 5/16 deep. Now, the problem with this type of tailstock turret, there are no stops on it. So I tried several different ways, and one was just to put a mark on the drill, but it's kind of hard to see. So I have a little aluminum tube or sleeve over the drill to act as a depth stop. Now that's not real good because there is no place for the chips to go, and they want to jam in there, so I'll be backing it off to clear that regularly. And I sped up the machine a little bit. A lot of turret lathes have a 2-speed motor, so that you can easily just step it up electrically rather than with belts. So here we go, and I backed the other turret on the tool post out of the way. Small center drill. I'm not going to use this big one, that was in there before. Small center drill and an 1/8 inch. And it doesn't matter here where the position of the work is, just so that it's held securely. Center drill. Right up to the stop, and we'll do another one close up. Center drill. And this is a little dangerous as far as getting near the chuck. Probably would be safer to take that stop out of there. And that's all there is to it. My original intentions when I made this setup was to do it all in one chucking operation. That is, drill it, and this has already been drilled, and then use a different tool that I had originally designed and have the ball turn and the groove cut and have it cut off all in one pass. So this is not the same tool that I used for the rest of this video. This is a different tool, and I decided not to use it, but what happens here is it's like I'm cutting off the branch that I'm sitting on, and you'll see what I mean. I'm going to go ahead and turn one, and it is semi-successful, but the ball will not be cleaned, and it needs another operation. So let's cut this off and take a look at what I'm talking about. And again, I haven't used any coolant in any of these video clips, or it would have worked better if I had. So let's watch this other tool. The ball is forming. Too hot to touch. Ooh, that's hot. So you can see what I got here. I got the hole drilled already, and it's been cut off, but we still got that little peg on the end. And that's why I changed it and went to the other method. But you can see there's different approaches to doing a project like this. Back to the bench, all the machine work is done. Now as far as finishing these is concerned, on the earlier ones, remember I broke the corners with a file and I cleaned them up a little bit. But they want to avoid handwork if at all possible in a factory. So my buddies up in Leland at the screw machine shop had big vibratory deburring machinery, or some people use tumbling barrels and so on to finish off their products. Then they're ready to just clean off and they're ready to ship. Okay, well now we need to put the pins in there. There's a couple different ways of doing that, and one is to just use some common 1/8 inch welding rod or whatever kind of rod you got around, and use a little Loctite, and it'll set for a while, and that's going to hold. But the original, as I showed you, had a grooved pin in it. So I'm going to drive these roll pins in there, a couple of them, just so you can see how I do it. This is a lead block. I've had that forever. There happens to be a little dimple in there that is just right, and then I won't damage it. So we'll just put the pin in there, and using a brass hammer, drive it home, and the job is done. And you know, these roll pins are hollow, so they would act as a little bit of a reservoir to hold the oil and feed the oil onto your center, so I really think that's ideal. And these can be done real quickly. And so on, until we get them all done. This is the original Logan Engineering Dauber, and this is the ones I made out of aluminum. I could, of course, make them out of steel if I wanted to, but I wanted to speed things up, but I would use some of the screw machine stock 12L14 to do that, but the aluminum will serve just fine. Now the job of converting the lathe back to a regular engine lathe. Alright, just summarizing now. Here's the South Bend that I made in another video, South Bend Dauber. This is the original Logan, made in Chicago by Logan Engineering, with a grooved pin. And here's ones that I made. This one with the roll pin in it. This one with just a piece of 1/8 inch stock that's been held in with thread lock, Loctite. And finally, here is the failure that I talked about, and you can see how that broke off on me. I went ahead and put a pin in it anyway. And as it broke off, it scuffed it a little bit here. So that's it on how to make daubers using a turret lathe. Hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you like this kind of video. And this is Tubalcain saying so long for now.